Hey guys, this is me, Chris, and George, except George isn't here. He's off doing something else. I have a number of games that I've collected over the last 50 plus years, and some of them I consider rather special, and this is one of them. I've asked Chris to review it for me. Now, I've looked at it numerous times, but it's so high level that I just can't grasp much of it. So hopefully he'll be able to break it down and answer some of my questions. And, anytime we spend time with Chris, we're up for more advanced stuff, which can be, in my opinion, rather exhausting. So I don't like to do it very often, being a lazy person. But hopefully someone else will get something out of it too. So I'm handing control over to Chris.
Okay.
I don't believe he's seen the game before, and we'll see what he has to say. Take it away, Chris.
I can tell from the opening already that I've never seen this game before.
Okay.
This alone tells me that it had to have been a much older game because nobody plays this these days.
Right.
Back in the day, as far as I know, my knowledge of moves like D6 goes, it's usually played to prevent really tight pincers that can lead to sharp tactics. It's a little bit more far away from the corner. It does offer black to enclose, but then white can do something like play away fast or switch directions, and it becomes just a shoulder hit AB exchange, which, as we know nowadays, is actually really good for white.
Yeah.
And so usually black will pincer still, but now the pinch is much less severe. White can settle quite easily in the corner at any time by playing this attach, and then if black honors, there's a cross cut. In this game, though, well, white played f4. My first sort of instinct is I would never have expected this move, and I sort of wonder if there's anything that makes A work. But part of me also thinks that the tactic with this move is probably that white is baiting black to play A, so maybe black wants to look at something different.
Right.
But I'm wondering if there's actually anything here.
It's, as you can see, it's a lot to read out.
Yeah. It kind of seems like at first glance there might be something like this, and then if white comes down, black might aim for this kind of thing. But I don't really know about positions like this much. Giving up the corner this way to white could be okay, but it could also be bad. In the game, black does not do this. Black plays the iron pillar, which is another move I don't think I would have expected. More common shape nowadays when black wants to lock the corner would be playing something like this and aiming to move out through the center.
Yeah.
And I like this shape a little bit better.
Yeah, me too, now that you mention it.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the considerations we think about is can white separate, but I think now if white separates, the resulting white is much easier for black to handle. So it's probably more likely white's going to do something on the outside again to thicken the shape at the center a bit. Yeah. Maybe something like this, or maybe like attach and extend. Try to get some thickness in the middle. And, black is going to have the opportunity. The corner is strong enough it's going to live on its own.
Yeah.
Iron pillar, maybe this is some old Joseki I just don't know about, but if we kind of consider the Tawari a little bit, if it was like we started on the star point, let's make a diagram, and then white approached high and we played this pinch and white played this double approach, it's like we answered at 5, which might be okay. It stops the 3-3, but it's also really slow. White's 2 exchanges are on the outside. I don't think white can be upset about it. And this is, again, white is thickening up the center. I don't know if it's better than attach and extend. This would be the more common method, because white is sort of doing the same thing in this variation, but white's doing it by sente. If black leaves the variation alone, it is possible black could not extend, but if black doesn't extend or push, white's going to have a cut at A, which has some nasty complications later for black. So it's very likely black will play this extension. And then from there, white can block. And this seems like it should be okay for white, I think. Black pushing wouldn't really be ideal. White's kind of got f4 to surround the corner if black tries to go through the gap. And if black comes out through the center, maybe we just met. It seems like black is keeping contained and white is staying fairly good on the outside this way. So maybe this is...
I think way back then, there was less severe go and more positional go.
Yeah, it was like less...
Nowadays, it's just crazy aggressive.
Yeah, it's like practical move all the time, right?
Yeah.
So this one might just be a difference between like the old and modern style. A might be like older style, like Japanese pro would love to play A because aesthetically it's the right shape, and then B is the one that you'd think the Koreans and Chinese would play because it's the one that gets the best local result. Yeah. But okay, so white is basically getting the same result. White's getting thick. Now if black tries to shoot through the e5 gap directly, the stone at f4 is quite light. There's not really much black can do at e5 anymore. So black attaching here to make thickness makes a lot of sense to me.
Yep.
It does give white the option to come back in the corner with another diagonal. This is something that black always has to be aware of. White may choose to Hane first to strengthen the center, but we could imagine a position like this where black's iron pillar does not have the same life and death value that a diagonal at c4 would have had in the corner. Which to me, if I was playing black in this position, might indicate that I'm more than willing to sacrifice the corner for a good outside result. And when I see this outside attachment, that's kind of what I assume black is going for, is finding a way to sacrifice the corner. But white doesn't come. White comes from the bottom side. The bottom side is certainly the most open, but I'm not sure how heavy the two stones are. This shape leaves a cut at A that black can try to use to escape. And black still has things like the block at B, the jump at C. The corner is not alive, but it's not dead yet either. I think black could think about playing away, for example. Black might choose like some approach here, or maybe black might follow up the top right corner. These both look good to me. I'm considering, since I heard a stone being placed, that wasn't... Oh, we went for this one locally, directly.
I was involved in Go, dare I say, before you were born.
Very likely.
And we weren't so comfortable sacrificing groups back then. So that may have something to do with it.
Yeah, it's just I look at the shape, like the modern way that we sort of think about it is these two stones already are thick. They have a lot of liberties. And the biggest contribution that these thick groups, like these thick sticks with liberties, have is that we can use them to cut things even if they die. So my natural disposition is to not try to save the corner, because often what happens is when we save the corner, the opponent gets thick. And then our thickness just converts to a group that's alive and sealed. So from my own experience, that's why I probably wouldn't play this one. I mean, it makes sense. Like white probably isn't gonna come out this way because black can get ahead of white with some movement like this. But white can just play the outside Hane and black is pretty much stuck inside. It's like, I'm not really sure what the intent was, because now black is really heavy and having to live here. So already I like this result better for white. So it makes me think that, I mean, is A going to die? No, it's going to serve the function of living with the A group, but I think the cost of living with the A group might be a bit much on this board. When the board is very, very open, there's many things you can do. You usually don't have to rush to something like this. You can keep the Aji as white's bird, because like imagine white played E2, Itsumuki, and then white kills the corner. The corner is actually not that big when you factor in it took white 2 moves and Gote to kill it. Right? So, I don't know. Mingju is the great 7P. I'm not, but that's my that's my perspective on this corner. I wouldn't try to save it now.
And this game was played long ago.
Yeah. Now, of course, the argument is realistically, how strong is white on the outside in the fight? Because black is gonna aim for this push at B. Probably the push at B comes next, and black's gonna try to start a fight with white's outside. which is technically another way you can try to use the thickness that you've gotten here. But we'll see how that goes. The cut is the most severe move. You don't want to play this one and let black out, because then this result is immediately good for black.
Right.
Even though cube players might look and go like, oh, but white can enclose something like this or like this, and the bottom's so big, and it's like, yeah, the bottom is big, but then when black jumps and white's dead, the left side's not small either.
Yeah.
And black controls more of the center this way, so it's not really something that white can allow to happen. So this cut makes sense. Tari, yeah, Tari is probably fine. I'm always weary about Atari exchanges, just sort of in general when you can extend. Like black could play any of these three, but only one of these three moves helps white. The other two don't really help white. And black is playing the move that helps white, so. Oh, into triangle. I guess that peep is fine. Is removing white's eye space before coming back to lift the corner. Okay, so in this result, black is alive now, and white is escaping. This is a key point, so this one's fine. If black doesn't jump to A, white's going to be able to take A away and then wrap around the left side. So black kind of has a double dilemma now. White is moving out with his only weak group, and black has the 2 area that's a cutting stone that's becoming surrounded, and the group at 1, which is also becoming somewhat heavy and surrounded. I don't know about you. I think, yeah, black lived, but I like white better. This fight seems like it's going to be much easier for white. Oh, wow, this one. I would have thought he would have played one exchange and then go back to fix this.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what he's afraid of. What can white do? Maybe he didn't want to see this one, I guess. Is that really big enough? Sorry, I have to go into the think tank a little bit.
Yeah, not a problem. I'm not sure I mentioned to the viewers that these two players are brothers. Mingju was a prodigy, you know, and oh, he's doing so amazing. And then along comes his little brother and surpasses him. It was, you know, had to have been I mean, how could that happen? And you're not, oh, Jujo, why'd you have to? I don't know. I just keep imagining family dynamics here.
I like this type of game flow a little bit more for black personally. So there's a bit of a double thing here. A is a vital point, just as much as B was. So I understand like not wanting to give white both of these. But the follow-up value with A, the bottom white group is already alive. The white stone in the corner is also, for the purposes of this situation, also alive. There's no black stones around it to bother it. A is sort of playing away from the B fight. Whereas black jumping to E11 would be offering some small support to the D15 stone, locking down the left side a bit and preparing to fight harder with B. I think if white took the time to play A, black coming out first in the center against the B group is not the easiest for white to handle.
Yeah.
And like the modern Go, we know that this attachment at A is the real move, and that white probably can't kill it. So I wonder how big the bottom can really get if white plays M6. It seems to me the bottom's not going to be so impressive. Now, I'm not reading 30, 40, 50 moves deep into this fight. Right. You know, I'm only reading 3 moves deep up to this, and it looks okay for me to black, or looks okay to me for black. But I'm assuming there was something there Mingju didn't like, so he played this side instead. This one just feels a little bit slow to me because I can't imagine Jujo's going to spend the move in Gote there protecting the bottom territory. It just seems a bit strange to me to do that as white. Like if I'm white in this situation, I probably come around and start bothering the left side now because the black group there is weak and I'm alive. Okay, nope, I'm going to eat my words. He's going to defend the bottom. So he's making the territory anyway. I I mean, I can't say it's bad because it is keeping pressure on black in some degree, but it gives up this move to black again in the center, which I don't like.
Okay.
And black is again ignoring. So both players are not putting a high degree of importance on this A point. Maybe that's where my amateurness is showing. I would think that A is quite important.
Yeah, that might be true. There's a proverb, old proverb. The observer is 2 stones stronger than the players.
Mm.
Now, I can watch professional 9-dons playing and go, "Oh, that's a mistake."
Mm-hmm.
But when you're in the middle of a game and every single move you're responsible for,
Yeah,
you're in an
it's
impossible
different.
situation. You can't play perfect go. You can't keep your mind. So
Yeah. Yeah. So in the modern sense, this shape, as it relates to the corner, this one is considered a bit of a soft attack on B. Even if black gets one more move, white's not dead with the B stone.
Right.
So there's a choice white has to make here. White could answer B, which is going to give black some type of strength, no matter which way white goes. The most common moves would be to attach at 1 or 2. We can just kind of show if white attaches like this, white can live quite easily, right? This is if white wants the full corner with no more forcing moves by black. And in this result, we usually see Hane cut extend Atari. And this is a sort of common shape that white can aim for. But with those tactics aside, saving the B stone may not be urgent. So it's a bit of a counting exercise. How much do we expect black to gain as a positive profit if black plays the next move and forces B to live, versus how much is it worth if we sacrifice completely for the fight in the center? These are things that white has to take into consideration because black's mark stones on the left are weak, black's mark stones in the center are weak, and white's cutting group in the middle is not the strongest either. Black is beginning to surround it on a large scale from f16. So the fight to me would still be a bit of a priority. I would still be focusing on getting to that A point quickly. Because to me, the A move is really important for white becoming stronger than black in the local fight. And I'm not exactly sure that black is going to have the time to fix this or to finish the corner and follow up A.
Right.
White uses something a little bit more, or rather less direct, a little bit more aggressive to the corner. Usually when I see this shape, white is willing to sacrifice d17 for forcing moves against the outside, which on this board would make sense. If white could kill e9 in a big way, then white's going to win without much difficulty. So that seems to make sense to me.
Yeah.
And it induced black to play a thin shape here.
Yeah.
This shape is a very thin relationship with both sides. It's a large knight with the corner, and it's a 2-space with the other group. Typically, when we're going to play something like that, and we have to decide where we want to leave weaknesses, it's usually better to play tight to one side and leave a bigger weakness on the other. So I might still prefer to play tight, but I think I might just be nitpicking shape. If there's no tested G to cut here, then I think this one would be fine. I guess now, since white was not answered, white will attach in the corner. Yeah, it's making sense. And so now the corner stays white territory. Black got 2 moves against it, and now all of a sudden it's 4 versus 4, but white has all the points, and black's influence isn't really worth much. And just the local count, you might give it something like this, and then maybe some miscellaneous 2 points here. White's going to have pretty much all of this now.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah.
And for the same number of stones, we would expect the score to be even, but it's 8 points for black, and white's margin of profit up here is something close to 10. So black needs to find a way to compensate this 10-point difference, either with the top side or the fight in the center. So I think from now, it's going to end up being, once black takes Sente here, at some point, he's probably going to fix the shape a little bit more, maybe with bumped and Hane. But once black takes Sente, black might be aiming for something like J10 or Tengen to really use that wall to hurt the white left side.
Right.
Now, white's plan is I'm just going to take all the cash up front, get all of my profit now, and when it comes to the attack, I'll just shinobi, or I'll outlast the attack. So basically he'll say, "Hey, Mingju, I'm weak. Come attack me," and Mingju is going to attack him. And then every chance he gets, he's going to Tanuki the attack when he feels it's safe enough to do it, take more territory, and in the hopes that Mingju's attack will amount to little or no profit. A very, very common strategy in professional games. It's a really pretty thing to watch when it works, and it's a really sad thing to see when it fails.
Yeah, and that's what happens in this game. Yeah.
Well, it seems that already it's going in that direction based on how white is answering here, because he's giving black everything black wants.
Yeah, and white center group is, I mean, I would be resigning. It's like, holy cow, I can't live there. Zero eyes.
Yeah, now it seems like it's time to start attacking. Black has two methods. There's A and there's B. A is the very straightforward one. We just cap the white group. And B is the one that tries to get white to block so that we can peep and then get that move without cutting onto it. This one, I will say, is very often considered the vulgar way to play J10, because you're making exchanges that remove any cutting point in white shape that could have existed later. Like you force white to be a stick, which eliminates all the immediate weaknesses. And later there could still be tessages with things like this attachment or this attachment or this attachment for white. So I don't know if B is in the long term a good idea, but these are basically the two ideas that black will have from here. In the game, he chooses to cut first. This one is a probe. It's very likely white is going to answer it. The simplest method for white is usually to block the corner this way. But another method that white could use is this one, which is a bit of a counter probe to black. If black pushes in the corner, then white can turn out like this. So this one's pretty easy to see where that goes. And then if black blocks, white gets back to this move anyway, but now we've got some exchange on the outside against the black shape.
Yeah, free move.
You know, maybe it's useful. Maybe it's not. It depends. Like, that's a judgment call. Exchanges like A and B I often make in my games, and the AI says it's bad. And then the games I don't make the A-B exchange, the AI is like, hey, you should exchange this. Why didn't you do that? So I don't know, but I will point out that it's there. It's an option. We don't usually see this one and then return, because the value of the peep subsequently after the fact is worth less when the corner is already connected. For example, black Tanuki, white goes here, black might just give up the top territory instead of connecting. So we don't normally see white push. It's usually going to come to this one directly. But in the game he turned, this is the most simple response. It just eliminates 99.9% of all of black's Haji in the corner. And it's okay for black. Black didn't lose anything with this exchange because white filled a point of his own territory responding. He's continuing the sacrifice, and then he opts for this one directly. Possible. It's going to kind of be the same thing, but the only difference is this one allows white to extend here. In the event that white's Hane is actually a powerful Sente, it means black is going to have to play the step back. Might make this one slightly better, because in this case, black has no such weakness. Black can also choose to attack from this way if black's worried about the attachment, and black's a bit further ahead of white. Another way that we can kind of think about this is white's extension is kind of nerfed by these two stones. Like, for example, if white was to jump something like this, at any point, black can just use those two stones to cap him. So black is supported in capping from just about any distance. So I think compared to the game move, I would have preferred to turn first, but that's just because I really don't want to have to step back at A. Because A is very single purpose. It's connect, and it still leaves the double weakness of this A attach and this B wedge. Even if there's nothing working now, it's something black is going to always have to be aware of exists, because as white gets stronger in the center, tactics are going to open up here for white.
This is something that early dawn and Q players really don't get. You know, we look at the AB and it's like, oh, black's so strong. Dang, black's so strong. Nothing to do there. No, in the next 100 moves, things will perk up.
Right, and we don't know. So that's why we call it Aji, because we don't know. But white is happy that A and B weaknesses exist, because it means that if the center gets strong enough, there's free things there that white can do. There's stuff, as we call it, right? And then white is removing that stuff promptly and using it to springboard out into the center. I think the peep is probably okay here because he still has the jump cut. It's going to help white resist tactics. If white has just come out directly, there's the potential black might be aiming for some cut here. We could imagine a world where something like this happens and black is able to come through. If white already has the tiger's mouth exchange, there's nothing there for black. So it's very easy to see how this one is helping. There's no cut.
Right.
So I don't think that this peep could be the worst exchange. Locally, it's a bit bad exchanging because we've made black very thick. And, you know, while it's true, black's thickness doesn't really have much to do, which is probably why it's fine for white. There is still going to be Aji later. Maybe this attachment doesn't work, but there might be a future where this attachment does. So still something that white's going to have to be considerate about is that even though it's not necessarily bad now, this one could become bad in the future. But it's very practical. And then we see black capping. So right now it's white's territory versus black's attack. That's pretty much what this game is hinging down to. White has a lead in points, something 10 to 12 points pretty comfortably, I would say. And this is me factoring in black invading the bottom right corner. So if we assume there's a living group in the bottom right for black, I would estimate white's lead at about 10 points after the top left. Black needs to make 10 free points in the attack. And what I mean by that is 10 points that white gets no compensation for during the fight. This is where we enter Shinogi. Some details that I would take a look at here for this middle game is that A and B are quite thin. White has an interesting point at 1 that can ask some questions. It can aim to shoot through that gap. It can aim for moves at L6. There's a bit of a question mark around the K8 point. The status of the black group at 2. White's corner is a thick group. Black is sandwiched against white's corner. White is moving out to the center towards the top. Black can be surrounded. If we imagine at any point white gets a move up here and here, the black group is not alive. So there are some questions about how strong is black really in the long run for this fight. And then the third thing that I would look at, and this is maybe a bit more of a modern sense, is Sente value, because this is still open to white. If the fighting like subsides or white finds a timing to slip away from the fight and take Sansan, it's going to be very difficult for black to catch up in points. This is a situation where I feel like black really wants that corner already enclosed, and it's missing a stone there.
So in that evaluation, you said so many things. This is something you do that really is hard for me. You start naming coordinates, and I'm like, so I'm busy trying to find the coordinate. But I did follow.
I tried to mark it this time with triangles.
I'm very proud of myself. I was able to follow that. Okay, I think I'm with you. Go on.
So if I had to guess, white is probably not reading this fight all the way out to the end because that would be impossible. But white can be pretty confident that the fight's going to go okay for white because white has stuff at 1 and the black group at 2 is not as strong as it seems. And that's a detail I think a lot of players miss. Like a lot of low down players will look at white and be like, wow, white's just kind of swimming in an ocean of black. This has to be a great game for black. I think white is winning. You know, and I think the reason white is winning is because it doesn't look like this attack is going to be easy to make 10 free points to me. If black had already enclosed the corner, I would like it a lot better for black. But without the top right corner being enclosed already, white having a free pass at any point to take that third corner is huge. There's nothing left on the board for black to have in parity with that. So white is starting by jumping. This is a very sort of thick move at the middle. Very, very solid move in the center for white. It's kind of begging the question to black. It's a very, very, very big question to black. Like, how are you actually going to follow up attacking here? And it's really not that easy to find the next attacking point in this game for black, in my opinion. So black starts with the sort of, I dare say, obvious peep, but sort of the standard looking move in the sequence. The only other move I think black really could have considered if he wanted to attack would have been something like A or maybe B.
Yeah.
These are, for those that don't know, a lot of times when you're looking for attacks just mean removing a running direction, but paying attention to the basic shape that makes an eye. This is the basic eye. You only need 3 of the 4 corners to make an eye, but if you can break 2 corners, there's no eye. So when we think about what a one-space jump can become, usually when it's going to make an eye, it's going to have to make a box this way or make a box this way. If you break one of the corners of the box, it's much harder for the one-space jump to convert itself into an eye. It's a much more severe attack. So that's how we would find a move like this one. It's also one of the reasons why when black makes the peep, white can dodge to that one. Also, there's the fact that it removes the cut. Black cannot push an in cut here. Black seals. This one is also okay. I was wondering if black was going to go for the second peep. This one is sometimes a very severe attack too, but he might be worried white's going to push and try to fight harder. He didn't do this one. He did the even toby, right? So this one is a bit of a loose surround. Black is creating a moyo on the upper side. And although we can say maybe it's the moyo in a vacuum isn't scary because white can play A or B, if black does get to close off A or B, it's going to be a pretty big pickup for black in terms of territory.
We're seeing a big black section happening here.
Yeah.
And white is not alive.
Yeah. And white has a shape that I've only ever seen in the Go problem. I don't think I've ever seen this in a real game until now. Although in the Go problem, the black stone at K12 is at H12, and you have to escape with it. But this is my first time actually seeing this oyster shape in a game. The real question is going to be, how many more exchanges does white need to be alive here? Because if white just lives passively and gives up all thickness to black, I think black is going to be slightly better.
Yeah.
So white has to balance, how do I live, with how do I also keep black from getting anything too big at A and B. This is where I think we leverage the fact that this black group is weak. One of the things that we can't fail to notice here is that the move that I've now marked at 1 by white has its eyeballs on that cut around 2. Now, the cut doesn't actually work right now, but black doesn't have eyes.
Yeah.
And 2 can be sometimes useful to break eye space and make liberty shortages. So there is a weakness present around 2 that black does have to be aware of.
Yeah.
That can be used in a plethora of different ways. For example, white can even push and peep, and we can see when white gets to here, there's no eye for this black group. So white has things like that. If I'm white, I'm probably going to play something like this, try to get between the black stones and put some pressure on the black left side that isn't alive.
Now, just a second. The term you used, I'm hoping we can adjust the term. You said, since black is weak.
Yeah.
And I want to say, no, black's not weak. Black can live easily, casually.
Since black has weakness.
Yes, black has some weakness, which white can use for his own health. Okay, good.
Yeah. So basically attack your opponent's weakness to make your group stronger. That's what white is actually, that was actually the move he played. That's what white is actually doing here.
Yeah.
Black can still make this peep, I think. It's a bit annoying. But yeah, Mingju does have to be aware that the left side group could come under fire here. This one is a bit of a standard shape. I can't say that this one's bad. It does offer white to Hane, which would be creating a cut in the position. So what would be the cleanest way for white to do that? Probably like we could just play something like this and then descend. And this would be starting another fight towards the top side of the board that would bring black's top left corner and sort of B stones directly into the fray. It makes the fight really big. You see this a lot in Chinese and Korean games these days. They go for this sort of whole board fighting. If white is successful, black will, of course, be dead lost. If black is successful, white will be losing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of risk in playing this Hane. You have to have a lot of confidence to play a move like this, I think. Okay. Oh, white wedged. He went this way.
This move really surprised me. I mean, I don't understand this move at all.
Yeah, what was his plan? Was he trying to like find a ko here? Like the only thing I'm thinking about is maybe he was hoping for this.
That is big. Black has trouble on a bunch of sides.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like black played that. It looks like black cut. So this is probably black's attempt to like revert, like try to play away from some ko.
Yeah, like maybe he's just focusing on making sure his group is healthy.
Yeah. Oh, this one. So this one is actually interesting because this one leaves some implications with this ko later. If we assume that through the ko, black will eventually have to connect here when white recaptures, then white can play this and get a good reduction. I was thinking he might have connected this way so that against this move, he doesn't have to cut and go for a ko. He can just play the Hane directly. But then he would be giving more forcing power to white on the outside.
Yeah.
There's
so much complex stuff in this game.
Yeah. So this one, he's not worried about the reduction through the ko on the top. He just wants to strengthen the A area so that if white comes in, he can get a lot of the corner, I think. And also it makes sense because it's going to be harder for white to shoot through this gap now. This is becoming a good shape for black. This result, I mean, I don't think it's going to be possible to really hurt the white group inside anymore. I'm just doing some more reading because white can get an eye at any point by connecting. And white can still play this and get an eye this way. So I think at this point, the white group is very, very close to, if not already alive. So black got the surrounding Gote. Was this enough of an attack to compensate for white's territory? If white gets that co-variation in Sente in the end game, that's going to be about a 15-point swing. So I'm counting right now, for those that are wondering what I'm doing. I'm trying to figure out if the result was good enough for black. Like visually, without going into any like counting detail, it looks like maybe it was fine, but I suspect white might be slightly better.
If we do look at the entire upper right quadrant, there are only black stones, not one white stone.
Right.
So black has a lot of control up there.
He does. The sort of caveat to that is that I'll just mark the stones in question here. These black stones are still quite thin.
Yeah.
And I've been counting the board, factoring in some invasion at B and white losing the corner. But if white loses the corner and black is thin on the outside, white's going to get some compensatory value attacking the black group.
Yeah.
So really, I'm trying to figure out how big is white's attack.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to say if white's still winning or not. I think I would still prefer to play white on this board.
Especially since white is virtually alive in the center, and black, the marked stones clearly have problems. One starts leaning in white's favor, going, I don't care how many points black has.
Yeah.
White's strong, black's weak. That's how I tend to look at the board.
And I'm kind of in agreement right now because as long as black is weak in the center, I don't think he has time to invade. And then if black doesn't have time to invade around B, and I count the whole territory for white, I still think white's winning by 15 points. So with that assessment in mind, I don't think black's attack was actually enough yet.
Yeah.
Black still needs to prove some more stuff. This one is a bit of a cute move. Oh, that wasn't what was played. Did this one next. Yeah, this one's making sense. I probably would have played the 3/3 to be honest, but I could understand why maybe he didn't. If we got some result like this and gave up the whole outside to black, there might be some world where black plays something around here and starts developing the whole right side of the board.
And then we can't attack black's thinness. Yeah.
Right. And so maybe white is looking at this like, that looks like a much harder game than I'm willing to fight. So I'm just going to come here instead. So this one makes sense. I think even in the modern era, I think this one makes sense. Even though my inclination was the 3/3. Sometimes I have to break the AI conditioning, you know, of 3/3 is always correct. Now this one, I like this move, and that this move feels very sneaky to me. Normally when we're playing white in this shape, we're coming out. I think a lot of players would come out. If we just look at the standard sort of idea, this one gives black the push, and then white can jump or tanuki. But in general, this white one, if we play it and we're like at the mid-don level, okay, yeah, we might be eyeing something around A and B next.
Yeah.
The problem is, this move is very directly looking at A and B, and anyone who has common sense at that level is going to say, oh, my opponent's trying to look at A and B, I better fix that now.
Yeah.
And then white didn't actually get anything on the right side, and black gained a move at the corner. And so it ends up being, you know, it's probably okay for white, but white's not really going to have any strategic advantage against black's group in the center, because black's just going to fix it. But this one's not moving in the direction of that black group from the right side at all.
Yeah, at all.
It's moving towards the top side, saying, hey, I'm going to break your top area, and don't forget, you've got a 2-space jump here, and I still have the threat of the Hane to start that co-fight. So your top group might still have some questions. And it's very, very sneaky, because it's preparing to attack the center, but it's not doing it in a very obvious way.
It doesn't defend so obviously. It doesn't attack so obviously, but it is absolutely full of suggestions.
Yeah, and I don't think Mingju is going to be ignorant to the fact that Jujo is obviously going to eye the center group. Both players are aware of it. It's just how much liberty is he going to give white against it before he goes back and finishes the position. I mean, naturally, if you can play this move, usually you want to play it.
Yeah.
Because the territory on the top side is not small. Like it really can't be tiny. It's just the problem is gonna come that white's gonna start the attack and try to find a way to use these 2 stones, probably as a sacrifice at that point, to get some good squeeze going. So, whoa, I could not have predicted this one. I've never seen this move before. Seems to me maybe white can just fly. Like this one comes to mind, this one comes to mind, this one comes to mind. I don't think white has to answer, because the cut for black naturally on the right side is not so big. Okay, but white connects in this thick. So it's still sort of keeping up the suggestion that, hey, I can do something powerful towards your top side. Black pushes, white defends, and now black is coming in. And okay, so we've got 2 things happening. White has now become heavy, and black is now attacking white. But in playing this attacking move, black has created another thin shape between A and the markstone.
Yeah.
That's something else white can leverage. White is thick. So in this sort of dynamic, white is always going to be keeping in mind, where can I cut from? For example, this tapping point can be a cutting move. Something like this can sever the right side black group from the center. If white got thick in the center, let's just play another move as an example. If white got thick in the middle like this and then separated the whole black group, how confident is any player, you know, at 3/4 dom that they're going to be able to live here? Plus, white's destroying the top side naturally. So
yeah, I found it curious, the shape white's developing. On the one hand, it seems it's so heavy. It's like, but wait a minute. It's actually a very strong group, because black has nothing but thin all around.
Yeah.
I thought this was a really interesting position.
Yeah. I think players that are in tune, or maybe a better way to say it is players that have a lot of experience handling thickness, will sort of understand naturally this relationship between black and white and how to handle it. Like my mind immediately goes to this move. This is how I would use the thickness. I would cut the thin group.
Yeah.
Right? Now, Dujo didn't do that, but I think this is a perfectly valid move. Black cannot step in. Because stepping in, white's just going to sacrifice, give it away, and get thick on the outside in the direction that matters. In the game, what did he do? Oh, he's preparing on the top side first. This one's okay. Because it's worth a lot of territory if black doesn't defend it. If white gets to jump in, the corner is going to shrink to about 8 or 10 points. The top side territory is gone completely. And then if we count the board from that position, black still doesn't have enough to win.
And black doesn't have a move that makes the top clean. And that, to me, that's a big deal.
Right. And also black doesn't have a move that fixes all the thinness in one shot.
Yeah.
Anything that black tries to play to fix the thin group is going to be, is not necessarily going to be sente. Even something like this, white can't ignore it. For example, white can cut through and make the fight happen. If black dies in the center, white will give away the corner gladly.
Yeah.
You know, so these are always things we have to consider. You know, this move makes a lot of sense. It's very patient by Jujo.
Yeah.
Very professional move because, you know, it's not doing the most assertive thing that white can do at the time, which would be saying this A move is an overplay. I'm going to cap you and show you why my thickness is supreme here. Instead, it's being patient and saying, if I go here, it's almost like we'll borrow a chess term, like a zugzwang for black, because black just doesn't have a good next move.
Yeah.
There's not a single move that can really defend the center very well. And there's also, you know, not really a good move on the top that's good. My shape is so thick, even if black plays this knight's move later, I can attach here, or I can attach here. You know, if black is having to cut with empty triangle, this could be nasty later with the Aji implications. Yeah. So yeah, black fixes, but then white caps, and it's like
right back to your move.
Yeah, it's like black was in a bit of a catch-22 here, right? And white gets back to the key move anyway. This point, I think I really like white, because even though it looks like white's group might be the quote-unquote weaker group, and the only reason I say it looks like that is because a lot of players would think, oh, black has like leaning moves at like A and B, and it's really hard for white to cut at C. So black is virtually connected. I'll use air quotes on that one. Black's not, but players will think black is. You know, they might look at this and go, clearly white's the weaker player. White has no right to attack like this. But actually, I think black is the weaker party here.
Yeah. Now
that the top center group for white is pretty much alive, we can treat that white group like thickness. And if we think that the whole left white half is thick, this center right group is much stronger than I think players would give it credit for. Yeah, black's knight's move makes a lot of sense. He doesn't want to give the thickness by poking to white. Usually the shape here next would be to play something like this. This one would be forcefully aiming at the gap between here, but it also aims at the gap between these two.
Yeah.
Setting up white, like white P7 or O7. In the game, he just defends the corner. This is another very patient move. Saying, okay, you can get back to this knight's move if you want it, but this one also doesn't clearly defend your center.
Yeah.
And it's the same idea. If black cuts through, white's just going to pull back. And yeah, black can catch the one stone. You know, that one stone, it's like, yeah, have it. It's all yours.
Yeah.
Remind me again how you're winning this game, because the stones in the center are going to be dead. The stones. So it's like, really, it's catch-22 for black. It's not really a good move. This one, okay.
Well, black just found a weak group on the right, and this is helping the weak group as it takes away white's liberties, and yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe black would come back to this one and just try to shore up the group here in the center before white has a chance to do anything. I wasn't convinced that white stopping S13 was going to be big enough. Because now if black defends and white separates, the black two stones are already connected. White doesn't have the ability to jump cut anymore. So I think it changes the math in the sequence a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this one's a positive territorial move. I can't say it's bad. It's not what I was expecting, but I can't say it's bad. This one is a good move. A lot of players don't know about this one, but it's really good for taking away liberties, even though it's an empty triangle. And now white has achieved a very thick shape.
Yeah, white's playing so lightly here.
Yeah. there's still so many problems with this black group.
Yeah.
Namely, what my eye is immediately drawn to is this shape relationship is terrible. This shape relationship is stressed. And there's the future that I could see where A-B combination is a tesuji to cut the bottom from the top. And if something like that happens, I don't see black fixing both of these cuts against the knight's move and whatever the other shape is in one move. Black looks like black might lose something. I would not be feeling very confident here as black at all. So white comes through directly. Now white's pretty much safe with this Atari at any point. White is going to be able to secure connection underneath. And so yeah, white can get to this key point and aim for the separation. Now this attachment in A is a working tesuji, and black's going to have to do something to prevent this. Probing the corner. This is black getting all the freebies. Black can also now disconnect white. White's got one eye, but I don't think it's going to be possible for black to remove the second. The whole center in this game becomes dame. White gets back to N17. If I look at the territory, I think white's still winning. Just do a quick count here. Yeah, I think white is still up. Yeah, at least 10 points, I think. Yeah, now we're approaching the end game. And I'm not really sure where Mingju makes up a 10-point difference. Jujo's play is really impressive.
So white's down to one eye.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he found a ko.
Found a ko here, which I was so surprised when I saw that ko. I did not see that coming a mile away. This A2 just blew my mind.
Yeah. This one's a very sharp tesuji. I've seen this one before in another very similar corner situation in another pro game I've seen, but it's been quite a few years. I probably wouldn't have found it myself. But I think if white is at ko to live, this is already a losing fight for black.
Yeah, I mean, black's group, he's going to die if he doesn't win ko.
This is not only that, but I don't see how with this center group being in the disarray that it's in, black's going to be able to win the ko.
And that's how white wins, is black never got his shape. Yeah.
Yeah, because this is still thin.
Yeah.
And that's all a co-factory for white at this point. It's all a co-factory for white at this point. It's almost like playing the ko is a bit of a formality for players at this level.
And then here, white's either out or out.
Mm-hmm.
So game over.
Yeah, right. If black connects this one, white never has to fight the ko. White just captures.
Yeah.
And if black connects this way, white can fix by killing the 2 stones. So once white comes through,
really, it just
once white comes through, there's nothing left to be done.
Yeah,
it's just over.
Jujo's playthrough here was beautiful. The way he handled his weak groups and
if
I the top.
Oh yeah, if I go back to like sort of recap from the very beginning, I think the thing I probably didn't agree with the most was this idea of saving the corner directly.
Yeah.
The modern thinking for stuff like this is that black's corner is already a thick 2 stones. Like for white to capture thick 2 stones in a small way is small. So let white have it. These types of stones you want to surround on a large scale doing something else. I mean, yeah, it's maybe a bit hard to want to give up a corner, but you're giving up 2 moves. Or you're like white has to give up 2 moves to black.
Yeah.
And in the opening, 2 moves elsewhere, if we count the corner is going to be what? 16, 18, 20, 2 points, roughly 23, maybe 25 at most. If white gets C5. As black, you only need something in the neighborhood of maybe 2 10-point moves in a row to compensate that in Sente. So any 2 moves in the opening against something should be good enough. And then you still have the Aji of A later that you can use. So it's not like it's a complete pickup for white, because it's a pickup with an asterisk. White's going to have to pay interest on it later.
Yeah, you're only 80% dead. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, while that sucks to some degree because it was originally Black's corner, Black has to realize Black's getting a lot out of it. And when you consider how many more stones White's going to have in the corner than Black for how much territory White's actually going to get different, it's really not that big.
Yeah.
Like, even if we use that metric that you use, like, let's just say something like this, and then White plays away and we count, Black's got 5 stones in the corner to White's 6. Right? And White's territory in this corner might be something in the neighborhood of 25 points. But Black's territory on the left side is also 25 plus points.
Yeah.
There's no 8-point advantage in this whole situation for White anywhere. So even though White has the extra move, White doesn't have anything to show for it yet. So, yeah, I don't know. I think for me, this one started something that was a bit difficult for Black immediately. Maybe at the time it was Joseki and it was thought to be even. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd never seen it.
I'd never, like, I know the shape and I know it's a tactic Black can use. It comes up in a lot of Tesuji problems. But it just seems to me like it's a recipe to backfire for Black.
Yeah. I saw it a lot as seeing modern Go versus older Go. Pretty big difference.
Yeah, and here maybe it was better even for Black to just come out this way. This one is a bit softer than the other one, but the idea is it doesn't leave the cut. Right? It does allow White to get to the first point. Black can defend it, but it doesn't leave the cut. So maybe this way would have been easier for Black to handle. But I think once we got into this really hard fight with Hane and Cut, it was already difficult for Black.
Yeah.
Because Black had to come back and live the group in Gote like this, and White got the first key point. And then at that point, it seemed like Black couldn't bear to give White the second one.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that I think in this case, it would have been fine to do that. And that judgment's always hard. It's so much easier when you're watching a game to be like, oh yeah, just give White both key points. You can invade here later, you'll live, it'll be fine. White's too weak to do anything about it. So just fight it.
Yeah.
Like, just play here or do the attachment thing where you get the strength and Sente first and then fight.
Yeah.
Right? It's like so much easier to think about that as an observer. But when you're in the game, you're like, man, I gave up A sort of with tempo. Now I have to take away this one, and then White can get the first move, and it feels bad. It just feels bad.
Yeah.
You know, I can't say for certain, you know, you'd need an AI to determine if White's actually just completely winning from now. But I think White definitely has an advantage from the first fight from the corner here. I think White was better. And especially this one nowadays would just be considered too soft. If you were going to play something like this as Black, you would need to play a much harder move.
Yeah.
Something like this attach, and then when White Hanes, you can turn and then cut. This is sort of a common tactic for Black. If White saves the corner, then Black has this cut, followed by the nose hit, cover, and then it's all free thickness. Yeah. Now Black can think about jumping in the center, or Black can think about playing this one. But Black can get more for free, directly benefiting the fight in a situation like this than Black is going to get playing this one. Because I thought what White did here, switching and just taking all the points and leaving the group in the center was great. That was a really pretty shinogi by White.
Yeah.
And it just seems like Black's attack just never amounted to enough territory. So that's basically the story. Black attacked as hard as Black could, and there just wasn't enough out of it. White's shape was just too resilient that Black wasn't able to capitalize enough. And
well, Chris, thank you. I definitely saw some new things this time around.
Yeah. Thank you for showing me.
Viewers, hopefully, I mean, that was so complex. Hopefully you got some, I mean, it's hard.
Yeah.
Hopefully you got something.
I'll agree.
Okay. See you all later. Bye.
There were certainly a lot of